I thrifted a couple of awesome vintage items online, so let's see what I got. I love it when sellers include a lovely little thank you note. It's just so personal and wonderful. First up is this amazing butterfly belt. How gorgeous is that? Now, the seller did let me know that it is pinned together and it does need some work, but I'm a refashionista, so that's not an issue for me at all. Okay, here's the main event. This absolutely gorgeous jumpsuit. Take a look at those amazing 80s puffed and pleated sleeves and shoulders there. It is from the brand California Girl, and there are some minor flaws that need to be fixed in this, which again is fine. I'm a refashionista, like this button doesn't match, and I just noticed that here needs to be restitched, and there's a couple other seams that need to be restitched, so I'm gonna go do all of that, and then we're gonna style it up. Okay, so before we go style it all up, let's take a peek at exactly how I mended everything. Now, clearly this belt did need some work, right? I mean, it was held together with pins. It was also fraying. It was also way too big for me. So the very first thing I did was remove the buckles and chop it to the size I needed. Then, I don't know if you can see this, but because the elastic was starting to fray where I chopped it, I simply took my handy little lighter and applied some fire magic, and it melted the edges, so now it's not going to fray at all. Then I simply wove it through once again and hand stitched it on both sides, and now I have a lovely butterfly belt that fits me perfectly. So now that my jumpsuit is all mended and washed, we can do some vintage tag appreciation here. I did manage to get this quite flat, so that is awesome. We can now read that it does indeed say California Girl. And this company apparently started in the late 60s and went until about the early to mid 90s. And I'm pretty certain this jumpsuit was one of their fabtastic 80s specials. So the very first thing I did to mend this was, of course, to remove all of that unattractive white hand stitching that was here, and of course used my fancy new machine on this fabric because it was quite thick, and I'm proud to report that my heavy-duty machine went through it like butter. I will link down below for you if you want to take a closer look at my fancy new machine. Anyway, so I wish I had a better matching color thread here, but I didn't right now, but maybe I'll find one in the future and just go over it again, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. All right, next up, of course, I had to switch out the buttons here because they were not looking great. Some of them were kind of dinged up, so I used these adorable little floral ones, and then noticed that I had these in the back, which are pretty much the identical color, and I'm sure they are from the same generation as the jumpsuit, so I put that on the front, that on the back, and did the same thing on the other side, but used a blue one. And I just think that looks so adorable now on the cuffs. And you know what? This jumpsuit actually had some damage right here on the back left leg close to the ankle area. So that, of course, needed to be covered up, right? Somebody had mended it at some point in time, but la la, I put this adorable little patch over it and once again used my heavy-duty machine to stitch around it. And once again, I'm proud to report my machine stitched through this patch fantastically well. And speaking of patches, you know, because this is a jumpsuit and it is pink, I, of course, had to add one of my Rockin' Refashionista patches to the front. Okay, now we can finally try it on and style it up. I am absolutely feeling like a rockin' refashionista Barbie in this amazing mended vintage jumpsuit and belt too. Please do let me know down below what you think, and if you think I should totally make this my refashionista uniform.
This is Confessions of a Refashionista.